As 2024 fades into history's embrace, the global stage is being redefined by unprecedented shifts in energy politics. For numerous decades, Moscow's gas pipelines stood as emblems of unshakable dominance, tightly binding Europe to the currents of Russian energy. However, the cessation of the Brotherhood pipeline has decisively altered this narrative, turning it upside down. This relic of the Soviet era, once the cornerstone of Moscow's power projection, now stands as an austere and visible reminder of its deteriorating influence. What specific triggers propelled Ukraine to take such a bold step to cease Russian gas transit? And what do these actions signify for the world's balance of power? Greetings, and welcome to our channel, where we delve into the stories that hold profound importance and examine their complex implications. As a newly launched channel, we are meticulously constructing a space dedicated to thoughtful, unbiased, and rigorous analysis. Should you be ready for a fresh perspective, we invite you to subscribe to our channel and accompany us on this important journey. Gas burnout has become the hallmark of Russia's economic collapse. Russia's inability to effectively export gas to Europe has forced the country to resort to flaring its surplus supplies, which is a process where excess natural gas is burned off due to the sheer lack of adequate storage facilities or market access. This situation has become an undeniably glaring symbol of economic inefficiency and geopolitical ineptitude. According to Reuters, the state-owned gas pipeline export behemoth, Gazprom, experienced a dramatic and stunning net loss of $7 billion in 2023, marking its first annual loss since 1999. This was largely due to the forfeiture of EU gas markets. This very considerable reduction substantially exacerbates an already dire economic situation as the nation grapples with accumulating sanctions and shrinking energy markets. Natural gas, a valuable byproduct of oil production, is an indispensable part of Russia's energy economy. It must be meticulously and carefully stored or promptly sold to circumvent wasteful practices. However, the country is demonstrably lacking in the necessary infrastructure to liquefy natural gas for global export. Consequently, sanctions have effectively cut off Russia's access to advanced technology, vital for expanding its liquefied natural gas, LNG, facilities, leaving the nation critically ill-equipped to pivot from pipeline-dependent exports. Reuters also illuminates the fact that flaring has become a ubiquitous and sadly common sight in Russia's Arctic oil fields, where flames from burning gas vividly illuminate the night sky. This wasteful practice emphatically underscores Moscow's inability to adapt to its new reality. A reality in which Europe, once its most lucrative gas market, has decisively transitioned towards alternative suppliers and renewable energy sources. The economic repercussions of flaring extend far beyond mere immediate revenue losses. Each cubic meter of gas that is burned constitutes a lost and squandered opportunity to generate income in an intensely competitive global energy market. Furthermore, the environmental consequences are dire and truly concerning. The flaring process releases substantial quantities of carbon dioxide and methane, intensifying global climate concerns. This environmental degradation further isolates Russia on the international stage, where its reputation has already been severely damaged by its ill-conceived invasion of Ukraine. Domestically, the economic strain is conspicuously evident. Gazprom, once a financial powerhouse, has seen its influence and profitability eroded by the day. The company is now under immense pressure from the Kremlin to maintain operations, despite demonstrably diminishing returns. Meanwhile, ordinary Russians are bearing the brunt of rising inflation and severely reduced public spending, as government coffers are depleted by both exorbitant military expenditures and the collapse of traditional revenue streams. Russia's economic reliance on fossil fuels has mutated into a staggering liability, thus highlighting its failure to diversify income streams over decades of unsustainable resource dependence. In contradistinction, Europe's diligent adaptation to alternative energy sources and LNG imports has not only diminished its dependence on Russian gas, but has also established a vital precedent for energy independence. The wider implications for Russia are extremely grim. The energy sector, once the linchpin and cornerstone of its geopolitical power, has transformed into a symbol of strategic miscalculation, with no viable or immediate solutions in sight. The Kremlin now faces an overwhelmingly difficult uphill battle to stabilize its economy, all whilst balancing the considerable financial pressures of a prolonged and protracted conflict. As reserves dwindle and international isolation intensifies, economic recovery for Russia's energy sector, and indeed the broader economy, appears increasingly unattainable. The forfeiture of Europe's gas market, cemented by the cessation of the Brotherhood pipeline, which had been operational since 1973, marks a critical turning point in Russia's diminishing energy dominance. For decades, this infrastructure symbolized Moscow's influence over Europe, enabling Russia to leverage its vast natural gas reserves as a potent geopolitical instrument. However, the termination of this pipeline, which was once one of the most historically significant energy conduits, now underscores a dramatic shift in global energy dynamics. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky succinctly captured the magnitude of this pivotal development, stating that when Putin was initially given power in Russia more than 25 years ago, the annual gas pumping through Ukraine to Europe was at 130+ billion cubic meters. Today, the transit of Russian gas stands at zero. This dramatic statement reflects not just the loss of a key revenue stream, but also the broader strategic failure of Russia's energy policies. Once a pillar of Gazprom's business model, the pipeline's closure is projected to cost Russia approximately $5 billion annually. This lost revenue compounds existing financial pressures on the Kremlin, exacerbated by international sanctions and the evolving priorities of global energy markets. The economic impact of the pipeline's shutdown reverberates throughout the entirety of Russia's energy sector. The Brotherhood pipeline was not merely a commercial asset. It was in fact a linchpin and central pillar in Moscow's strategy to maintain leverage over Europe. For many years, Russia strategically exploited its position as Europe's primary energy supplier, leveraging gas supply as a tool to exert both political and economic pressure. The loss of this critical conduit signifies a catastrophic blow to that strategy. European nations, in direct response to Russia's deplorable invasion of Ukraine and the subsequent energy crisis, have transitioned swiftly to alternative suppliers, such as the United States, Qatar, and Norway. This decisive diversification has made Russian exports increasingly redundant, cutting deeply into Gazprom's traditional market share. Analysts note that this development epitomizes a comprehensive failure of Moscow's economic strategy. The Kremlin had long relied and depended on Europe's reliance on Russian gas to sustain its geopolitical ambitions and financial stability. However, the ongoing war in Ukraine has accelerated Europe's pivot towards energy independence, with substantial investments in renewable energy and liquefied natural gas (LNG) infrastructure, greatly reducing reliance on Russian imports. By the end of the year 2024, Europe had not only weathered the winter months without substantial disruptions, but also managed to effectively stabilize natural gas prices, further undermining Russia's bargaining power. The cessation of the Brotherhood pipeline has profound implications that extend far beyond mere economics. Symbolically, it represents the rapidly diminishing influence of Russia in European affairs. The pipeline was once a testament to Moscow's ability to integrate its energy dominance with its foreign policy. Its shutdown now stands as a stark and visible reminder of how swiftly geopolitical realities can shift and transform. Moreover, the current situation emphasizes Russia's increasing isolation on the global stage. The Kremlin's over-reliance on energy as a weapon has sadly backfired, leaving its economy increasingly dependent on less lucrative markets in Asia. Even there, severe competition from other energy exporting nations and logistical challenges, such as limited pipeline capacity to China, have severely restricted Moscow's ability to adequately compensate for the loss of European markets. Analysts and experts sternly warn that the long-term ramifications of this isolation will very likely include a considerably weaker economy, diminished technological advancement in the domain of energy extraction, and reduced political leverage in international negotiations. Europe's energy shield, that has been deployed amidst the crisis, demonstrates Moscow's hopes of plunging Europe into an energy crisis have sadly failed spectacularly. When Russia deliberately cut off its gas exports, it wagered that Europe would succumb to a severe energy shortage during the harsh winter months. However, this ill-conceived strategy backfired spectacularly. as Europe's sheer resilience turned a potential crisis into a manageable challenge. Since the year 2022, European nations have made striking progress in diversifying their energy imports. Liquefied natural gas, commonly referred to as LNG, terminals in both Germany and the Netherlands have drastically and substantially expanded the continent's capacity to import from reliable partners such as the United States, Qatar, and Norway. Renewable energy initiatives, including both wind and solar projects, have also played a critical role in mitigating the fallout from the cessation of Russian gas supplies. Investments in interconnectors between the member states of the EU have significantly improved energy sharing, ensuring no country is left overly vulnerable as a direct result. Natural gas prices, while slightly higher during the winter period, have been effectively stabilized and remain substantially below the peaks witnessed in 2022, showcasing Europe's incredible adaptive capabilities. The coordinated effort between and among European nations has actively strengthened unity within the EU itself. Poland, for example, has assumed a clear leadership role in compensating for any potential shortages, ensuring that both Slovakia and Hungary can maintain their essential energy supplies despite the disruption. This collective approach has not only successfully stabilized energy markets, but has also greatly reduced Europe's dependence on Russian supplies. In addition, energy-saving campaigns that have been implemented across Europe have successfully reduced demand, with countries such as France and Italy both reporting a substantial 10% reduction in energy consumption when compared to pre-crisis levels. Europe's resilience very clearly underscores Moscow's strategic miscalculation. The continent's marked ability to adapt and diligently respond to the crisis has unequivocally undermined Russia's strategic plan of weaponizing energy. This critical shift has not only effectively reduced Moscow's economic leverage, but has also bolstered Europe's geopolitical standing as a unified and self-reliant entity. Experts and analysts note that the remarkable success of these measures has clearly sent a clear and resolute message. Europe will not be coerced by what is essentially energy blackmail. Looking ahead, this crisis has served to accelerate Europe's transition to a much greener and far more sustainable energy future. The EU's commitment to renewable energy has been substantially reinforced with record-breaking investments in wind and solar power projects. These critical initiatives are actively laying the foundation for long-term energy security, reducing Europe's vulnerability to external shocks and disruptions. In this very critical context, Moscow's gamble not only failed to destabilize Europe, but has also inadvertently and unexpectedly strengthened its resolve to achieve complete and total energy independence. Ukraine's technological edge is another very significant factor, and their technological advancements have not only transformed the battlefield, but have also played a pivotal role in directly disrupting Russia's energy dominance. By leveraging cutting-edge tools and employing innovative strategies, Ukraine has directly challenged Moscow's significant reliance on energy exports as a geopolitical weapon, particularly its extensive and vast pipeline infrastructure. One significant and concrete example is Ukraine's use of advanced surveillance and intelligence systems to diligently monitor and safeguard critical energy transit routes. These pivotal technologies have allowed Ukraine to maintain secure control over its energy infrastructure, all the while denying Russia the ability to exploit it for coercive leverage. For instance, Ukraine's real-time intelligence capabilities, which are actively supported by its NATO allies, have provided invaluable insights into the inherent vulnerabilities of Russian pipelines and critical energy facilities, enabling well-targeted actions that have further eroded Moscow's influence. In addition, Ukraine's strategic decision to cease Russian gas transit through the Brotherhood pipeline exemplifies its strategic integration of highly advanced technology with energy policy. This very bold and decisive move, enabled by enhanced security and improved operational capabilities, not only severed a critical revenue stream for Russia, but also drastically accelerated Europe's transition towards achieving true energy independence. The cessation of gas transit, combined with Ukraine's technological edge, clearly underscores the nation's role as a central and critical figure in reshaping the global energy landscape. Ukraine's diligent deployment of precision systems, such as drones and HIMARS, has further amplified its ability to effectively counter Russian energy infrastructure. Reports indicate that these specific tools have been highly instrumental in protecting critical infrastructure from Russian missile strikes, ensuring complete continuity in essential energy supplies despite relentless attacks. By effectively and successfully defending its energy assets, Ukraine has convincingly demonstrated a remarkable resilience that directly undermines Russia's strategy of using energy as a weapon. The broader implications of Ukraine's technological edge extend far beyond the immediate conflict. Its ability to both secure energy infrastructure and severely disrupt Russian operations has fostered even stronger alliances with European nations, which increasingly view Ukraine as a very reliable partner in their common goal of achieving energy security. This strategic collaboration reinforces Europe's collective resolve to end its dependency on Russian gas, explicitly highlighting Ukraine's crucial and critical role in shaping a more resilient and diversified energy future. Ultimately, Ukraine's remarkable technological innovations have not only bolstered its military strategy, but have also contributed significantly to dismantling Russia's energy monopoly. By seamlessly integrating cutting-edge technology into its energy policies, Ukraine has skillfully reshaped the geopolitical dynamics of the region, creating a lasting impact on global energy security. The abrupt cessation of Russian gas has thrown Transnistria into considerable disarray, starkly exposing the inherent fragility of its dependence on Moscow. For countless decades, Russian subsidies and cheap gas had propped up the breakaway region, enabling its semi-autonomous status while simultaneously exerting considerable leverage over Moldova. With these critical pipelines now running dry, the power plants that are absolutely central to Transnistria's economy and infrastructure now teeter precariously on the very brink of collapse. The severity of the winter has substantially worsened the crisis, leaving the long-suffering residents facing severe energy shortages in bitterly freezing temperatures. The ensuing economic fallout has been catastrophic. Transnistria's industries, which are heavily reliant on cheap energy, now struggle to sustain production, driving unemployment to record levels. Initial reports indicate that residents who had previously aligned with Moscow are now severely questioning the tangible benefits. A recent local survey revealed that nearly 60% would support reintegration with Moldova if it ensured stability and access to the EU. Moldovan officials view this unrest as pivotal. Prime Minister Doran Risian has emphasized Moldova's readiness and preparedness to assist, framing European integration as a very viable alternative to continued dependence on a faltering Russia. Brussels has explicitly signaled that Transnistria's alignment with Moldova could accelerate the nation's EU accession, unlocking a great number of economic opportunities for its citizens. Geopolitically, the Transnistrian crisis serves to reflect Moscow's increasingly waning influence. Russia's very clear inability to support its allies further underscores the devastating toll of its prolonged and costly conflict in Ukraine. Similar crucial discussions have emerged in South Ossetia and Abkhazia regarding the overall sustainability of Moscow's support. This critical shift clearly holds significant implications for Eastern Europe's stability. Transnistria's potential reconciliation with Moldova could well set a very important precedent for resolving other protracted and frozen conflicts. However, analysts and experts have warned that Moscow may yet attempt to destabilize the region in a desperate attempt to prevent its integration with Europe, highlighting the extremely fragile balance of power in this strategically crucial corridor. President Vladimir Putin's rather hollow rhetoric of resilience and strength starkly contrasts with the grim reality of Russia's faltering energy sector. While his annual New Year's address celebrated what he presented as symbolic territorial gains in Ukraine, the very closure of the critical Brotherhood pipeline clearly reveals the very deeper cracks in Moscow's overall geopolitical foundation. Once considered a vital conduit for Russian gas to flow to Europe, its closure marks a profound and significant shift in global energy dynamics and is a massive blow to Russia's overall influence. The forfeiture of Europe as a primary and critically important energy market has not only drained billions upon billions from Russia's coffers, but has also exposed the obvious limitations of its over-reliance on fossil fuel exports. Gazprom, the state-owned gas giant, reported a staggering $7 billion net loss in 2023, highlighting the far-reaching economic fallout of this ill-conceived and monumental strategic miscalculation. As Europe swiftly transitioned to alternative energy suppliers and renewable sources, Moscow's once dominant position in the global energy market has steadily crumbled and eroded. This very tangible energy collapse has amplified domestic challenges considerably. Ordinary Russians are now increasingly burdened by soaring inflation and dramatically reduced public services, as government resources are being systematically diverted to sustain a very prolonged conflict. Internationally, the utter inability to maintain its former energy leverage has notably weakened Russia's standing with its allies, such as China, which are actively exploiting its inherent vulnerabilities. Putin's boasts and claims of triumph now ring distinctly hollow, severely underscored by the stark and undeniable realities of both economic and geopolitical decline. Moscow's strategic miscalculation is clear. The closure of the Brotherhood pipeline represents not only a logistical setback for Russia, but also a profound and comprehensive strategic failure. For many decades, Moscow heavily relied on energy exports as a central cornerstone of its geopolitical influence. The shutdown clearly underscores a critical miscalculation: the blatant assumption that Europe would simply remain indefinitely dependent on Russian gas. Instead, this very move served to catalyze a fundamental transformation in Europe's energy strategy. By deliberately weaponizing energy, Moscow grossly underestimated the resilience and adaptability of its European partners. In direct response to these very supply cuts, European nations very rapidly diversified their energy sources, turning decisively to reliable allies such as Norway, Qatar, and the United States. The clear acceleration of renewable energy projects served to further weaken Russia's overall grip, as clean energy alternatives quite rapidly gained prominence. Experts and analysts suggest that this closure has inadvertently strengthened Europe's energy security, while simultaneously diminishing Russia's considerable leverage. The ripple effects extend far beyond the borders of Europe. Moscow's drastically diminished capacity to effectively project influence seriously weakens its bargaining power with critical partners like China and India. China, a nation that has demonstrated its ability to exploit vulnerabilities, has leveraged Moscow's isolation to strategically secure very favorable energy terms. This unequivocally reflects the very broader consequences of Russia's strategic miscalculation, as its once dominant position slowly erodes. Ultimately, this very failure clearly exposes the inherent fragility of Moscow's over-reliance on energy exports. The closure of this significant pipeline highlights the very limitations of coercion in an increasingly interconnected world, leaving Russia both isolated economically and struggling to search for a new form of relevance. The cessation of Russian gas transit to Europe signifies significantly more than just an economic downturn. It marks a profoundly important geopolitical shift. Moscow's over-reliance on energy as a tool of coercion has been met with Europe's steadfast resilience and adaptability. This pivotal turning point in the very arena of global politics clearly underscores a world where true innovation and unwavering unity ultimately triumph over both dominance and intimidation. For Ukraine and its various allies, this is certainly not merely a victory, but it stands as a powerful testament to the sheer power of collective determination. Europe's swift diversification of energy sources, which is heavily bolstered by key partnerships with reliable nations, has fundamentally and decisively reshaped the energy landscape. Meanwhile, Russia finds itself grappling with the direct consequences of its many miscalculations, which are further isolating it on the global stage.